Line 4. Raven in Tempe, Arizona.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm just calling to, I have a couple of points. If you have time for more than one, or we could just do the one.
Just start with one and we'll see.
Sorry, what?
Just start with one and we'll see what happens next.
All right. Well, first, I was baptized as a young child actually twice, and honestly, it's just about every day, or every other day, or if not every day, I honestly like something would remind me of that, and it just it makes me feel dirty and even sometimes nauseous, and I feel just guilty that this was done to me, or that I was a part of this, and I don't know exactly how I should react to that feeling, or how I could, or what I could do to respond to that feeling.
Well, how old were you when you were baptized?
The first time I think I was 6, and then the second time I was 10.
Did you have any say in the matter?
The second time.
Yeah. But even, I would say as a 10-year-old, you don't really have a free choice in that case. You're kind of doing what your parents tell you.
Yeah, it feels honestly, even the second time, I was older, and I know now that, back then I was making a conscious decision that I was doing this on purpose, but looking back, I can tell that the reason I was doing that is because I was uneducated to, what was actually, a part of the sect of the church that, basically took me, I guess, and I feel I was, kind of, just by that ritual taking place, I feel it was kind of just taking advantage of me and the fact that I didn't know.
Yeah, I would agree, for sure. And it's, I wouldn't blame yourself for something you didn't really have a free choice over. And, I look at, I was baptized too as an infant. I definitely didn't have any choice, but that's, it's a ritual, and I don't think it hurts you in any physical way. I know the roots of religion kind of run deep emotionally and mentally, but for what it's worth, I think you should give yourself a break and say that wasn't up to you. That was something that you kind of had to go through or went through because of your upbringing, and just kind of say, well, that was then and this is now.
Yeah, and even those of us who weren't religious, we all have things in our background when we were little that we're ashamed of. Like in the 80s, I thought that Warrant was a good band. And, this manifests itself to this day that I still have this uncontrollable urge to listen to that old stuff in my Google playlist. Am I ashamed of that? Sure. But the experiences that you have that you had growing up are relevant in shaping the kind of person that you are today, and that's not your fault. As you get older and you learn more, you have more of an ability to make a decision and throw away some of those elements of your background that you're not that proud of. And so I wouldn't feel upset or embarrassed about it, because everybody goes through that learning experience.
All right. Okay. Do we have more time to talk about my next thing?
Can we make it pretty quick?
It's relatively short.
Sure.
Okay.
Yesterday, I actually got into a little bit of a rabble with my parents about creationism and evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my parents are creationists, both Christian, and I don't believe that creationism actually has any legitimate evidence other than just speculation. and they think that evolution is necessarily wrong because we don't know exactly who or what the first living organism was. They think that because of that, it's absolutely wrong. And I brought up things like speciation and changes in specific species, and also that evolution is demonstrated not just in biology and DNA, but also in geology and even chemistry. And they actually said that it was a conspiracy that the scientists, as a whole, just the scientists, will pretty much say anything to prove evolution because that's what gives them money.
Yeah. So is your main question more on the side of how can I answer these particular questions about, for instance, the first life form, or more on the side of what can I say to my parents to get them to see the light, so to speak?
Honestly, I kind of just want to know, I'm sure at some point you guys have had discussions that have ended up with similar results, or have talked to people who've had discussions with similar things brought up, and I would want to know how you would respond to them, or how other people would respond to them, and how to think about it.
Well, to be honest, the way I'd probably respond to your parents is to hang up on them. I mean, not right away. I enjoy arguments with creationists, but if these are people that you're going to be dealing with every day of your life, there comes a point where you might have to accept the fact that their religious beliefs are deeply ingrained and you're not going to change their mind. Now, when it comes to the actual arguments for evolution, first of all, I think it is probably a good idea for you to actually do some reading of a good layman's book on evolution. So, for instance, I mentioned The Blind Watchmaker earlier, but I think Richard Dawkins' The Greatest Show on Earth, right, is his most recent one that talks about evolution, and he's still a very good writer when it comes to explaining science, so I would recommend checking that one out. You can also spend a lot of time at talkorigins.org, and you brought up the fact that evolution doesn't explain where the first life form came from, and that's true because evolution is separate from another field called
Abiogenesis.
Thank you. I had a brain fart. Yeah, you do some reading about abiogenesis, because abiogenesis is a lot more speculative, but it's not for lack of answers. It's a lack of a conclusive way to pick between all the possible ways that the first life form could have come into existence.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I think there's another facet that even no matter how well versed on the science you are, if your parents are going to say this is a conspiracy, they're not going to, there's no reasoning with that. With somebody who's not open to reason, it's kind of a rate of diminishing returns. You might just have to say, okay, well, I've done what I can. Especially if you're dependent on your parents for support, you may just kind of let it go rather than continuing to engage if they're not open to being engaged in that way. It's kind of pick your battles.
Well, they're actually the ones that started the conversation, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you
luck
for calling.
with them.
Yeah.
All right, you too.